Good morning, myself K. Sivesh, and welcome to Sriram Sai's. We will talk about the recent perspective, the way that a mains examination tackled, and there are fundamental issues involved with the mains writing. But understanding is very important in each and every topic, because until unless you will explore the depth of the subject, it would be difficult for students to analyze on the spot. So we have to deal with great accuracy and good and broaden understanding. So here, suppose we take the question or any issues like in modern India, we take the 1935 Act and aftermath, that is the 1937 provincial election. And the performance of the Congress. So no doubt in this that in 3 roundtable conferences, the British government came across with many subjective issues. So from 1930 to 1933, when Congress was in the mood of civil disobedience movement, the British government had already launched 3 roundtable conferences. So on the basis of the roundtable conferences, the British government was ready to go for the biggest ever act passed in the history of British rule in India, which is called Government of India Act 1935. So in Government of India Act 1935, it was based on a report of Simon Commission, three roundtable conferences, Nehru report, aspiration of the nationalist, and Lothian report. Lothian committee, which was constituted in 1932 to discuss about the provision of adult franchise, then on that very basis you will come to know that before 1935 Act, only 7 million voters were there. Only 7 million voters were there. But in 1935 Act, it was increased to 35 million. But it was only 14% of the total adult population. That you can imagine how the British government was escapist on the issue of universal adult franchise. So it was only 14% of the total adult population of India having the eligibility criteria on the basis of age to become the voter. but British government only put as a 35 million population as a voters in this. So here in the Government of India Act, 1935, you'll find some exact crux, what actually British government wanted to present. So what is the crux of the Government of India Act 1935? That there will be a federal constitution or the federal structure. Federal structure, fine. And at the same time, nature of Government of India will be democratic. Nature of government in India will be democratic. And at the same time, we will find that the in future relationship of India and the Britain will be based on dominion status. Dominion status. So these three fundamental things will be presented by the British government in Government of India Act 1935. So obviously, this act was with the great expectation. So one by one, we have to arrange that what facets normally we do have while writing answer in the mains, but we have to understand the background, the basis, the crux of the act, and in between there are various if and buts. So one by one, we have to explore it. So federal structure, nature of government in India will be democratic, and dominion status is the ultimate relation between India and the Britain. After analyzing all these points, you have to come across with that what are the important points of Government of India Act 1935. So no doubt in this that British had expressed the opinion for All India Federation. All India Federation. Expressed the opinion for All India Federation. Second important point was that both princely states and British Indian provinces will be the part of the federation. So when British comprising the All India Federation, you have to understand that how the concept of federation was derived. So All India Federation means both princely states and the British Indian provinces will put under the task of Federation of India. But princely states, the participation of princely states in this federation was optional. If princely state may or may not join the federation, they can remain independent as per their choice. So therefore, it was optional character of the participation of princely states. So obviously, the British government giving them option to come out of the federation was a very huge embarrassment for the concept of unity of all India, unity of entire India. So optional. And then British Indian provinces, it was compulsory for British Indian provinces to become part of the federation. Just break it in order to understand and to get the more clarity. So there was some tough points of the concept of All India Federation when it was optional for the princely states and the compulsory for the British Indian provinces. Then next point, which was more exciting, was the provincial autonomy. Provincial autonomy. Hope all of you have understood that what do you mean by provincial autonomy? That in 1919 Act, the diarchy was introduced, and in diarchy, the provincial governance was divided in two parts. The provincial subjects were divided in two parts. One part was called reserved subject, another part was called transferred subject. So provincial governance was divided in two parts. So now the transfer subject, which was under the hands of the Indian ministers, and reserve subject was the governor and the council. Obviously, that arrangement was putting the things that you were incorporating Indians in the legislative and executive system, but at the same time, power of governance was very minimum. But now this time, British government tried to give the provinces in the hands of the Indians, means there will be election and the elected representative will form executive in the provinces. So provincial autonomy was granted. So simply the meaning of the provincial autonomy was that diarchy was abolished from provinces. I hope those who have studied little bit in the Government of India Act 1919, they understand fully what is the meaning of diarchy. So therefore, diarchy was abolished from the provinces, and provincial autonomy was granted. By far the most, it was a very exciting deal for the Congress. So provincial autonomy was granted. Next was that division of the subject in three lists again, the relisting of the subject. So that is a federal list and concurrent list and provincial list. Means although province was handed over to the Indians, but the power to govern the province became very less, because most powerful things was either put in the federation or either put in the concurrent list. So therefore, the Indians got the province, but power of governance was very less. It was quite minimum. Okay, so division of subject in three lists. Fine. Then third point is related to the introduction of the bicameral legislature. Bicameral legislature in some of the provinces. So introduction of the bicameral legislature in some of the provinces. Okay. Then extension of separate electorates to the women and labor. These two groups got the separate electorates under Government of India Act 1935. Otherwise, earlier, almost all the religious community had already got this reserve. So women and labor got the separate electorates. Establishment of federal court. Federal court was constituted. Federal court to decide the issue between union and provinces or between the two provinces. So federal court was announced in 1935. Federal court came into existence in 1937, and later on it became the Supreme Court of India. So two new provinces was also created, Sindh and NWFP. Sindh and NWFP. Two new provinces was created. So total number of the provinces now became 11. Sindh and NWFP. NWFP got the provincial status, and at the same time, Sindh was separated from Bombay. So Sindh and NWFP was created. But now, out of the many provisions that Burma was separated from India, Orissa was separated from Bihar. So these are the provisions, but here the big issue that I told you, that provincial autonomy was exciting. No doubt in this, that Congress had completely rejected the Government of India Act 1935. So not only Congress, in fact, even the Muslim League also rejected the Government of India Act 1935. Muslim League and the Congress, they had a same statement. Moreover, that Muslim League, Jinnah said about the Government of India Act 1935, it was thoroughly bad and completely unacceptable, totally rotten. So these type the words used by Jinnah about the government of India Act 1935. It was thoroughly bad, totally rotten and completely rejected, completely unacceptable. So this is the statement of the Jinnah regarding the government of India Act 1935. So even the Muslim League had rejected the concept. And secondly, the leader of the Congress, Jawaharlal Nehru, he said that this act is like a train. This act is like a train having many brakes without engine. Having many brakes without engine. It will take time to understand this statement, but this statement also signifies the point that this act was absolutely nowhere moving. What the promises was made, nothing made explicitly clear. So the both Congress and Muslim League had rejected the government of India Act 1935. Anyway, some British scholars also try to put the point of view. The British scholars like Percival Spear. So Percival Spear said that this act was point of no return. Means the British government had already moved a step ahead in terms of dominion status, in terms of responsible government. So Percival Spear had the understanding that this act was point of no return. From here you cannot impose the unilateral colonial thought on India. So that is what it's called the point of no return. So Muslim League and INC both rejected the proposal. But at least they agreed to participate in Government of India Act 1935. The promises was made for the responsible government. So British government wanted to conduct the provincial election. And the provincial election of 1937. So provincial election of 1937, it was announced under the Government of India Act 1937. So provincial election was announced as per the Government of India Act 1937. And Congress already rejected the Government of India. Complete rejection of the Government of India Act 1935 was the manifesto of the Congress, along with e.g. debt, substantial reduction in land revenue, rupees pound exchange rate, all was taken up as a priority in the manifesto declaration, but Congress was firm on the issue that we should not accept the Government of India Act 1935. So provincial election of 1937 was on the card and Congress started the early preparation. So 1936, my dear, the Jawaharlal Nehru, the leader of the Congress, he invited all provincial peasant organizations at Lucknow. So 1936, there was a proposed session of Indian National Congress at Lucknow. So Jawaharlal Nehru, he invited all the provincial peasant organizations at Lucknow, like Bihar Kisan Sabha, like UP Kisan Sabha, like Andhra Kisan Sabha, all invited there at Lucknow. And leaders of these organizations, they will express the point of view, and at the same time, they will express the fundamental issues related to the agrarian reform. And therefore, this meeting was very important for the Congress. So in this meeting, All India Kisan Sabha was formed. All India Kisan Sabha was formed, and it was decided that the session of All India Kisan Sabha and session of Indian National Congress will go together. In concept, we can say that 1936 Lucknow session, it was a very nice gesture by the Congress and All India Kisan Sabha to have a joint platform to present a pressure on the Britishers and to excite the level of Indian National Congress. You have to understand one point, that ever since Gandhi entered in politics, 1937, by 1935-36, you can see the peasant was so firmly associated with the Indian National Movement. Peasant never left the hands of the Indian National Congress or the Indian National Movement thoroughly in the entire course of the movement. Ever since Gandhi tried to associate the issues of the peasants with the nationalist movement. So here Indian National Congress was on the card, All India Kisan Sabha plus Indian National Congress. There will be a joint session onward. Anyway, in the provincial election of 1937, the performance of Congress was very exciting. Remember one thing, that Gandhi did not participate in single election rally. Gandhi already resigned from the membership of Congress, so Gandhi did not participate in single election rally. It was Nehru, Subhas had a tremendous contribution in order to convince the 35 million voters to vote for Congress. So therefore, the Subhas and Nehru both were instrumental in putting the electoral campaign to convince the 35 million voters. So the performance of Congress was that Congress was able to get majority in 8 provinces. 8 provinces. Congress absolutely got the majority and ready to form the government. 8 provinces. Okay. Only Punjab, Sindh, Bengal, these 3. So Punjab, Sindh, Bengal, there was non-Congress government. Non-Congress government in Punjab, Sindh and Bengal. 8 provinces. There was non-Congress government. But at the same time, 90% of the Muslim voters did not vote for the Congress, did not vote for the Muslim League as well, I will tell you, but did not vote for the Congress. No voting for Congress. So Congress got a very least support from the Muslims here in this election also. Then performance of Muslim League. Performance of Muslim League. It was a very discouraging, dismal performance of Muslim League. Muslim League failed to get seats in the Muslim majority province also. Even Muslim League failed to get the seats in the reserved constituencies. Like suppose, for example, in Sindh, there was 33 seats reserved for the Muslims and Muslim League got only 3 seats. In Punjab, there was 84 seats reserved for the Muslims and Muslim League got only 2 seats. So it was a huge embarrassment of the leadership of Jinnah and failed to get any provinces. So even the Muslims did not vote for Muslim League. So political frustration of Muslim League resulted in propagation of extreme communalism. But Jinnah, this is one of the most laughing moment in the provincial election of 1937, despite the fact that the Jinnah did not get support of the Muslims, did not get the seats in the assembly. But Jinnah approached Congress that why don't we form the coalition government with the Congress in the provinces. Then Congress does not need the coalition government because Congress was in majority in the 8 provinces. But Jinnah, after proposing the coalition government offer, along with that put the condition also that the Muslim ministers in the provinces will be nominated by Muslim League. Congress will nominate the Hindus. So obviously, the Congress on one hand don't need the support, on the other hand there was a conditional support. So Congress furiously rejected the proposal of Jinnah and thereafter the Jinnah called this Congress government as this government is a Hindu Raj in which interest of the Muslims are not safe. So the communalism which was in the backyards, which was under the carpet, which was very moderate in nature, all of a sudden became intense. And you can find that the Hindu Raj and this type of slogan had badly affected the psyche of the Muslims middle class. And however, the role of Hindu Mahasabha and other Hindu groups were also reactionary in the sense that they started Gauraksha movement. So even though the Congress 1937 to 39, the 28 months Congress government had ruled here in India in the 8 provinces. But the communalism had definitely grown to the level of a very high intensity in India. And Muslim League deliberately heated the concept of communalism. It was running very high and deep inside the Indian social system. So after 28 months, when the British government declared India party to the war without consulting Congress, so Congress altogether resigned from all the 8 provinces. And the resignation of Congress was celebration for Muslim League. Muslim League celebrated it as a day of deliverance. So these 2 years of the Congress government, on one hand, gave confidence to the Indian public that Congress can rule India, because most of us understand that if British would leave today, we are not able to rule ourselves. But Congress gave us lots of confidence regarding that. And secondly, which was very unexpected and unwanted, that was a tremendous growth in the rise of communalism. And that is how finally, after a decade, you'll find that the partition and independence will take place. So this evaluation we have to make, that what is the achievement of the Congress government in 28 years. This is also one other point before overall evaluation of the impact of the government of India Act 1935. Okay. So this analysis means you have to go for the minute observation to write questions in the mains. Okay. We'll continue with this series and to talk more about the modern India and some important topics. Thank you so much for the day.